Hey Cowboy fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect what matters most.
And welcome back to the part of the podcast we talk about the football team here, which is, I'm sure, is every Oklahoma State's fan's favorite thing. But got to preview the UCF game playing this Saturday. Got to go back down to Orlando. Oh no, I'm sure the weather's horrible comparatively, but I'm just kidding. Of course, Oklahoma has actually kind of nice weather right now, so it's not too bad of a difference there. And of course, going down to Orlando in November is never a bad thing, unless you're playing UCF. And our previous history has told us not a great deal going to play UCF in November, but brought here by Roger with the 9-1's podcast. Roger, thanks so much for joining, and tell me more about what we can expect from this game, this UCF team here as we're going into Orlando this weekend.
Yeah, interesting. Both of our teams, I mean, if you want to call it affectionately the toilet bowl right now, but both of our teams are struggling, right? And I think for different reasons and in different ways, but for us, it's injuries, right? Our quarterback depth has been terrible. We had at the beginning of the season, we had quote unquote 3 quarterbacks that could be the quarterback, coming out of the summer and fall camps. And when you have 3 quarterbacks, that means you've got no quarterbacks, right? Unfortunately, I've never seen, honestly, I made this comment on our podcast last night. I've never seen so many injuries on a UCF team since I've been following, which is 99. So it's been a really interesting year, transition year. Obviously, we have Scott Frost, who came back to UCF after the departure of Gus Malzahn. He came into a roster where he had to replace 69 different players. So, and he only had about a week to do it. So we've got fairly decent talent. There are some folks that stuck around, but a lot of our talent is, 1-year transfer talent. This team itself has been really, really good defensively. Kind of like Scott is on his, recovery tour or whatever. I mean, Scott obviously has he's been paid well enough that he doesn't ever have to coach again in his life, right? So he went to Nebraska happened, then he goes to the Rams and sticks around with them, then he comes back to UCF. So I do believe UCF, Scott's been pretty, at the time that he left, there was a time where he was literally crying on a golf cart to someone about wanting to leave. And there was a lot of reasons behind that. So he came back. I truly believe he came back for the right reasons. Scott can't put his offense in right now. We're a scheme team. We're not a system team. And what I mean by that is we have to scheme week by week because we don't have the players or the time together to really have a system in place or necessarily run Scott's system. So what you're going to see offensively is different every week. In addition to that, they haven't been around long enough together because most of them came in the fall, but the offense never really found its footing. So when we talk about execution on plays, this team has struggled offensively on execution against really, really good defenses. It's done okay against mediocre ones. Our running back room has been depleted. We've got literally our backup running back and our 5th string running back are the only ones that are left. And we lost our starting running back the game before Texas Tech. So that was terrible. We've got 2 quarterbacks in the room. We have the backup quarterback and then the 4th string quarterback that's left. The other 2 were out with injury for the season. Our O-line has kind of been patched together. We only had 1 guy come back from our O-line. So we're on our 3rd string center. So when we talk about false starts and other things, it's been troublesome. We lost 2 defensive tackles. Both of our starting ends are hobbled now. So this team is just beat up. Defensively, though, they can still play. The last 3 games, they've been really, really good with turning teams over. They had 3 interceptions against Houston, could have been 4. Last game, they dropped 2 interceptions literally in their hands. This is why they play defense and not offense. But Philip Dunham almost had another one, had one hand on one again last week. He's a guy to know in the secondary. Damari Henderson's kind of coming together from the safety position. But the big thing for this game, I think you guys have had trouble, from what I can see, scoring points. You've got a freshman quarterback that came in, and I know there was a lot of debate around him on who should start last year, and all of that fun stuff. Kind of looking at his numbers, he struggled a little bit, especially the turnover ratio. If this defense can turn the ball over, and this defense will still be aggressive even with the players that we have, and they have really, really strong defensive front. If we get after your quarterback and turn him over, it's going to be a long day for OSU. Offensively, though, it's kind of like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get with this offense this week. Taven Jackson, it will be the starter, presumptive starter, just because we don't have anything else. He's playing hurt. He got gator rolled last week against Texas Tech on a late hit that didn't get called. So he's hobbled again. He had a pull on his one leg going into the game. He came out of the game being gator rolled, so he was hobbling around there. So typically he's more mobile. He's not going to be as mobile. And the fourth string is a freshman, so we can't put him in really for any meaningful minutes. He can move with his feet, but he can't pass the ball. So it's going to be Taven Jackson, a hobbled Taven Jackson on offense, a backup running back, and then our fourth string running back for relief.
Well, we have a guy at quarterback who saw minutes this past week, and he was a UCF intramural athlete earlier this season.
Really?
Yeah, Noah Walters is his name, and he was the Nebraska Gatorade Player of the Year. But he ends up going to basically Northern Arizona University, playing there for a little bit here and there, and then goes to UCF, and he is a UCF student. And then transfers to Oklahoma State during the season because we've been so hobbled with injuries. So it's funny to hear about another guy say injuries. When you guys, Green, your last win, I'm not throwing shade because I've got nowhere to stand on, but your last win was like a month ago, and it was a 45-point win against a Big 12 team. We're over here, we're just as jealous as possible at that. Putting up 45 on another Big 12 team seems insane because your offense may be, here and there, whatever. Our defense last week was really good against Kansas State. That is the one takeaway. Like, we held them to
I saw that
points.
score. I was like, it was like
that
13-7 or something. I'm like, what is going on? Like, with K-State right now?
Basically, Kansas State only scored because they got a short field once, and then another penalty kind of kept their whole drive going when it should have been a 4th and 7. They got a penalty out of it, bailed them. So we should not have won the game last week. We were closer. We covered the spread. We were within 10 points in the final score. We put up 2 field goals, and we could have probably won if we had kicked, 3 more, of course. But so, it is what it is. We're now here. This is the last winnable game we have on our schedule because we face you guys in Iowa State at home for our senior day. But I know one thing. You've won all your games you played at home this season, all 4 games you've won. I see I said that the wrong way, but all the games you've won have been at home. You guys are home. All the wins we've had have been at our home. Not looking good for us there. And then, of course, the main thing here is it's your senior night. It's in Orlando. You guys have a lot to play for here. You can possibly get to a bowl game if you beat us and then win next week as well. You probably don't care about that.
I do.
Bowl game talk to Oklahoma State people is like 18 in a row.
I absolutely do care, right? So the expectation going into this season was 4 wins to 5 wins for this team, right? That's what our expectation was. It was low because we had so much turnover, etc. This team has blown probably 2 games, and I mean that. For example, Houston, right? We were winning that game the entire game. Had 4 turnovers against Houston, got 4 turnovers against Houston. We're able to move the ball. We got to the last, I think it was like 10 or 15 seconds. We were on 3rd down. We were going to throw it one more time in the end zone to try to. We were at the, I think it's 18-yard line or something like that, right? We got a fumble on a bad snap that turned the ball over to Houston, allowed them to score. Now we're going back the other way. Ran a 2-minute drill with Davy Belfort, who is our 4th string freshman quarterback, just for a change of pace. And he moved everybody right down the field because he was a running quarterback and he's really fast, like really, really, really fast. So he gets down to the 18-yard line. It's the 3rd down. We have one shot we're going to take at the end zone, and then, if we have to, kick for the field goal. And so he has a guy that leaks open, our tight end leaks open into the end zone untouched. He takes about a second too long to throw the pass, and it ends up getting picked in the end zone and ends the game, right? That should have been a win because he was open. If it wasn't a freshman quarterback, that was our 4th string guy because Taven Jackson got hurt again. That should be a win, right? Kansas is another one, etc. Taven Jackson, when he's healthy, he played really, really well, right? It's just, we've been devastated. We should have won the Houston game. And if we were going to the Houston game, I'd feel really good about our chances to be a bowl game. That would be a successful season. I mean, the way UCF feels about our team right now is a combination of, we had low expectations. They played above expectations. They came out of the bye week. Taven got injured coming out of the bye week after West Virginia. And again, we don't have any quarterbacks behind him to spell him, right? Other than the 4th string quarterback. So he's having to go out there and play. We've got an offensive line that isn't great on the 3rd string center, left tackle out, 3rd string center. So it doesn't help. And then, we get to where we are today. We saw a lot of promise. They kept building. We had another rash of injuries. It all kind of fell apart. So there's this, hey, low expectations, which is fine. If we get 5 wins, that's what we're expecting, right? You go up and it's like, oh, this team's playing above they are not who we thought they were, right? And they played really, really well. And then more injuries hit, and then it kind of goes down. And now everybody in Knight Nation's like, fire everybody and, whatever. It's like, this is what we were expecting, right? But I think we had a chance at the Houston game. That was at home. You get 4 turnovers, you win most games. We should have won that game. So that completely deflated the fan base, right? And then obviously we had Texas Tech. We're not beating BYU. We don't have the offense to beat BYU. It's just not going to happen. That's okay. Actually picked against us for Texas Tech the first time ever. And I've been doing podcasting for, I don't know, since 2012, 2013. So this is the first time ever I picked against UCF, right? The reality of it is I think this is a game we should be competitive, and I would think probably win. I hate to say that way because we're talking the OSU podcast, but we should win. But it's a 5-win season, which consequently was the upside of what we were expecting at the beginning of the season coming into the season. But it just feels worse because we don't have a quarterback to take into next year, right? And we've played so injured, we haven't been able to develop the system for Scott Frost. We've had to play the scheme because we've been so hobbled. We're missing our tight end for 2 or 3 weeks. Then we're missing, key offensive pieces. And so you never really got to install a system. So that's why I say we do by scheme week by week to try to take advantage of what we do have advantage on in matchups. And so it's just been real discombobulated, and a lot of folks are just disinterested, disheartened is what I'm looking for, because there's no future trajectory just yet. Now, again, we've got recruiting coming in that should hopefully change some things, because we've got two really, really highly ranked quarterbacks coming in out of high school. We'll see what we come up with the transfer portal. Our defense, we're signing all of our good players from this year that are still eligible next year back to the defense, and we've got some really good players there. Our defensive coordinator he was head coach at USC. He was, I think it was Washington State or K-State's defensive coordinator. Washington State. Was it Washington or Washington State? Anyway, he was their defensive coordinator, did really well there, got the USC job, didn't do as well there, left, and now he's with us, and he's done a really, Grinch is his name, Alex Grinch. And everybody was like, if you hire Alex Grinch, that's bad, blah, blah, blah. He's a good defensive coordinator. He was a good defensive coordinator before USC. And so Trey Neal, who's a former player that's on our show, he told us he talked to some of the guys that were over there when he was there because he knew them, coaching and players. The players weren't following what the coaching staff was telling them to do. And that's why Grinch ended up where he was. But he did really, really well next year. We should have him next year, so expect another solid defensive front, which we have a really solid front seven. And we're bringing back 2 really good linebackers and then 3 really good defensive backs. So the defense should be solid again next year. It's all about the offense. Can we bring in linemen, and can we bring in a quarterback?
Well, if you want to know some trivia here from the Alex Grinch time,
yes.
You know the last time Alex Grinch played against Oklahoma State, coached against, he lost for OU in Bedlam of 2021. It's the Lincoln final game, coaching for OU. He loses that, and so Grinch does. So will Grinch keep the losing streak alive here this weekend? I hear you on the injury bug. It's a little hard just because we have a wide receiver playing quarterback for stretches of the season. Now, of course, Sam Jackson V was a quarterback, then transferred to be a wide receiver, then transferred back to be still as a wide receiver, then transferred back to Oklahoma State to be a wide receiver. But he has been with Doug Meacham, the TCU guy, now OSU guy, for a while, coming hit and miss. And in all honesty, like Sam Jackson V has been a suitable quarterback for Oklahoma State. He's out there. He's trying to do whatever the offensive game plan is. It's not like he's helping us win games. We haven't won a game with him. I'm not going to say he's great or he's good, or I can't put any real good, cherry on top of the word palooza here to try to say it. But this will be a very interesting one, because when I'm looking at the Big 12 conference and you're ranking like offensive efficiency, there's UCF, and right below there's Oklahoma State, and separated by a good amount of percentage points. And UCF's much closer to the top 15 of those teams. But when I look at like total rushing, you guys are 6th in the conference, but you're like 14th in passing. We're 16th in kind of both, pretty much. I mean, just for all honesty's sake. But this was one that Vegas thinks, hey, UCF 14-point favorite. But the over-under one, because I'm not a huge, hey, let's look into the model of betting favorites on some stuff, but 48.5 points is the over-under line. And I know you guys can score, but if you guys are going to score, it's going to be 30 plus to our 18, 20-ish. That seems tough. So either I think you guys score in the 40s and hold us to nothing, or this is somehow a crazy game where it's close at the end. And I would love to think that that's a possibility in the case. I just have yet to see it, except for this last weekend against Kansas State. And that's when the total game score was 20. So it was not part of this script either. Now, Vegas doesn't know anything in comparison, because last week they had the over-under set about the same as they do for this weekend. They have it set up for about 48.5, and this weekend the same, and it could be another 20-point game combined scores. Are you guys worried at all about Oklahoma State? Are you on upset alert? Is there any hey, this could be a chance or whatever? Because I don't know. I mean, but I'm looking for it if there is.
I think for us, the way that we're looking at it is, can we get more than 21 points on the board? Yeah, I think so. You guys don't have a good enough defense to keep us off the board for that long, right? So I don't think so. I also think we've had an uncanny, our defense is really good, like really good. Especially the front seven. So we're going to stop you there. What we've been doing more of is getting turnovers. And so if we turn you over, we almost had a pick six last 2 games ago. Like we had a pick six two games ago. And it's not on one guy. So the defense is getting much better at sitting on the routes and getting their hands on the ball to pick off for turnovers. And given who you've got at quarterback, I don't think that's going to bode very well for you, especially since we have a good front seven that will get pass rush. We're going to rush on first down and second down. We're going to keep the pressure on. We've got a good enough front seven that will get pressure, again, our ends have been really, really good. Both of them have been really good all season long, Nigel Kelly and Malachi Lawrence. But they were playing injured last game because they were injured the game before against Houston, and both of them ended up coming in, so they weren't as good as what they normally are. Plus, we were playing the number 6 team in the country. I mean, no matter, or what are they up to now? I think the new things dropped. They were number 6. I think they're number 5 now. On a roster that was paid for $52 million, including Lee Hunter, their lead defensive lineman, who was on our team last year, right? He got paid I think it was $1.4 million for the year, $1.8 million for the year as a defensive lineman, defensive tackle to be specific. So, a little bit different situation. So has this offense been able to move the ball against teams that aren't the number 5 team in the country defensively? Yeah. The penchant for our defense to turn people over for most of the season, we weren't allowing any points in the first half. So if you guys are struggling on offense, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on you. And if we can get 3 and outs and or turnovers, it's going to mean short fields. And with short fields, this offense is potent enough to score on short fields or medium range fields.
Yeah, I think there's a strong possibility. Now, you're saying
we play much better at home.
Well, the one thing is, you say you guys got a good defense. I understand your defense might live on turnovers and takeaways, but you've allowed more than 30 points in your last 3 games straight. Now, Texas Tech taken out of it, 30 points from Houston and Baylor is Baylor scoring 30 is really what I would pick a net here with, if anything you said. But then again, you guys
that's because we turned we turned the ball over with short fields against Baylor. That's the problem. Same thing with Houston. The only time that they scored was when we turned the ball over with short fields, right? And if you go back and look at the actual history of it, now if you go full schedule, we held Cincinnati to 20 points and we did nothing offensively in that Cincinnati game. We held West Virginia to 13. We held Kansas to 20. We held Kansas State to 20. We held North Carolina to 9. Most of the season, we've held teams under 20 points. So Texas Tech, again, is an outlier. I mean, they came out firing. And even with Cincinnati, they scored, I think, within the first, I can't remember what the box score was, but I think it was like the first half is where they scored all their points. And they only scored like twice. And then we tightened up and they didn't score again until a late turnover on the fourth quarter with a really, really short, I mean, like within the 10-yard line. And then another one was an actual score that they scored, right? So they scored 21 points on us is really what they scored. So this defense is better than what it looks like. For a long time, they were ranked as, I think, the top 10 scoring defense. Texas Tech, they're just miles ahead above everybody right now. Houston, again, they scored on short fields. We had one turnover that turned into a short field. And again, it was a 30-27 game. They scored late. It would have been 23 points they would have been held to. So it's good offenses are scoring about 20 points on this. Great offenses like what Texas Tech is. So if we score 21 points, it's going to be tough, I think, for OSU to win this game. It's just going to be a question of how injured our only quarterback that's a legitimate quarterback actually is. We won't know that until next week because he was hobbling around quite a bit. And what kind of pressure you guys can get on him. I don't know what your defensive front looks like. If you guys have been able to get pressure on quarterbacks or not, that's going to be the biggest indicator for you guys. If you guys can do that, you're going to keep us into short down and distance. And if we get behind in first and second down, our offense isn't going to move very much, right? So because our running game is obliterated. Like we averaged 1.8 yards per carry against Texas Tech. I have never seen a UCF offense since 1999 average 1.8 yards per carry. Ever.
Yeah, I'll say this as regards to our offense and defense. The last time our offense scored more than 21 points was in August in our 1-1 of the season. Yeah, that's forever ago. I don't need to remind any OSU fans. The next highest amount of points we scored was 21 against KU at KU. So there's like a glimmer of hope that we could score a little bit. Just we gave the ball over 5 times this past week to K-State. We almost turned it over 6 times. In fact, there were several passes just batted up in the air by our 6'3" quarterback. It's not like he's Kyler Murray out there who's 5'10". He's just getting passes just batted up at the line of scrimmage or batted down, whatever it may be. And K-State scored this past week defensively here for us. K-State scored on 2 separate touchdowns. One second quarter, basically they just have one big pass for 34 yards, touchdown, kick extra point. Other than that, we were really holding them at half. I mean, we have more yards than Kansas State does for the whole game last week, almost by 100 more yards. So it's got to be a turnover thing. And in the fourth quarter, you know what? I think our defense just kind of wears down at some point, and we allowed a 15-yard rush, and K-State was just kind of just taking it to us down the field. So there's 2 bigger plays, and that's how K-State scored both touchdowns. But our defense looked pretty darn good last week. It's what you said, though. Will our offense be able to put any points on the board? That is yet to be seen. Will our offense be able to score more than 21 points? Then I think we got a good chance of winning. But that's only if the same defense we had last week shows up this week. And that could be a lot to ask, because we've got Wendell Gregory up front, but no one else is making a big name for themselves this year at all. And he's our freshman, defensive lineman, defensive end, and Wendell Gregory Jr., who's a game wrecker type of guy, transferring from South Carolina, didn't play at all there last year. Hopefully he stays around Stillwater for quite some time. But on any of the next head coaches, we'll have to wait and see, which is part of my segue here to ask you. The hottest name for Oklahoma State fans right now is I'd say Alex Golesh. It's one of the biggest podcasting guys here. Carson Cunningham Pistols Firing is really high on Alex Golesh, as well as a bunch of other Oklahoma State fans are too. For what seems like on paper here, really good reasons. He was at Oklahoma State in 2008 with Gundy around. Everyone loves a good homecoming story here in Stillwater, of course. But he was most recently, of any of the guys that I talk to frequently here, at UCF back in 2020. What can you tell us about Alex Golesh? Is there insight you have that maybe we wouldn't be privy to?
Yeah, so for me, I hope you don't hire him. And that's not because I don't want you to be successful. Like, obviously, I always want UCF to win, but I don't think it would be a good hire for Oklahoma State. And a few reasons for that. His journey took him, and I'll just go back to UCF because that's where it started for me and my awareness around him. He was a tight end coach under Josh Heupel. And I think he got promoted to associate offensive coordinator, assistant offensive coordinator, or something like that, right? He never called plays here. As far as the tight ends were concerned, they liked him. He's very energetic. He's very in your face, but to the extreme. When he left here, he burned a lot of bridges with players' families, just complete, very volatile when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, I mean, cursing, telling a bunch of other stuff, basically telling them they sucked and all of this other stuff, and just really bad way to end things. He goes to, he follows Josh Heupel to Tennessee. There he is assistant offensive coordinator. Josh Heupel calls his offense 100% of the time. He might be head coach, but just like here at UCF, we had a head coach of the offense and a head coach of the defense, right? Josh Heupel he wasn't truly a head coach. He ran the offense. Same thing at Tennessee. He had himself as offensive coordinator. They obviously have a machine up there for recruiting and a brand name behind it. So they've done well in recruiting. Josh really didn't do that well here in recruiting, and neither did Golesh, who was part of the recruiting cadre, or, someone who's a leader in the recruiting effort. At Tennessee, just like UCF now has, and I'm sure you guys do too, we have a GM, we have a whole recruiting staff, all that stuff now that we're P4. But he really didn't have to do anything in recruiting there, and he was an offensive coordinator at Tennessee. He goes to the Cows, and I call them the Cows, so we're the directionally challenged school from West Central Florida, because they call themselves University of South Florida, but they're in Tampa. Didn't make any sense. But they hired Alex Golesh. Alex Golesh goes there. He inherits Byron Brown. Byron Brown is a really good dual threat quarterback who had been in the system for a bit. He got there before him, wasn't recruited by him. A lot of the players that are there weren't recruited by him. And they were already kind of coming together. You saw that this season before he got there. They were already starting to come together as an offense before then. And he just, if you go back and look, he hasn't won any of the big games in his entire career. So for me, he's volatile. He can get mouthy in a bad way. He exited poorly with the players and the players' families when he left here, and there wasn't any like reason for him. Josh just took the job at Tennessee when Danny White, our former AD, went to Tennessee. Josh got the call up to Tennessee to go with them, and that was cool. There was no animosity there, no reason for it. I mean, we had good seasons. You know, we had 2017, then Josh Heupel came in for 2018, continued the undefeated season. 2019 was another good season because he kept that offensive identity going and took what Scott Frost had done instead of trying to rebuild it in his own image, kind of merged his own thing with Scott's, and it worked, right? Because a lot of the players stayed. Most of the players stayed. There was only one player that went to Nebraska with him. So, Josh Heupel, great dude. He spoke. There's a running back named Otis Anderson that was a running back for us under Scott Frost, and then in Josh Heupel. He ended up going to the NFL, came home during the off season, was with his family. Dad got drunk. He was apparently abusive to his mom. Otis stepped in. Dad shot him, and he was killed. Josh spoke at his funeral. So Josh had that type of connection. Golesh did not, right? So he was really the guy that held together those relationships with the players. Josh is a great guy, like 100%, a real dude, as Gus Malzahn used to say. But Golesh is not. He's volatile. He gets angry. He's all over the place. He has not run an offense himself. The offense that he inherited, the talent that was there, he didn't recruit. And if Golesh were to stay at USF next year and Byron Brown were gone, I don't see them having any kind of success whatsoever. And they haven't won any of the big games. None of them. They lost against Navy last week. So I don't see it as a good fit for OSU because of his personality, and I don't think he has the chops to run a Power 4 program. I don't think he has the experience. I don't think he has the chops. That's my take on it. Just from knowing him when he was at UCF, following his career after that, and knowing what he walked into at USF. Now, Golesh absolutely should take any P4 job that's offered to him, because but this is Byron Brown's last year, and once he leaves, Golesh, I don't think has a team, and USF's going to go back to what they always are. And remember, Golesh has the top NIL and the top budget in the American right now, and he's still fourth place.
Yeah, but I mean, his three losses are to, at the time, number 5 Miami and Memphis and Navy. I guess there's the two sides of the coin. Hey, I can try to sell you Alex Golesh if he's awesome, or I can try to sell you that he sucks. And it seems like you know more than just the two sides of the coin. You know more of the background information of like, hey, have we looked in to see if this guy was the full-time OC at several of the places he's been, or is it just maybe just now, or is it even just still now? He is. And what is he doing as a coach here to set up all of his guys' year-over-year success? Or is he kind of building this all up to a pinnacle where he's going to leave and it's just going to drop off because, like you said, the quarterback changes, the staff changes once he leaves as well, too. And all of a sudden, we won't be talking about USF football for a long time, and Golesh will look like he saved the program for a year or two at his new place, but then truth will come to light, as it always does, and everything will fall away. That'd be what I'd worry about there, too. But it's really, thanks for sharing, because it's really interesting to hear all that, know that information about him, because I did not know a bunch of that without doing more research myself, especially on the player side. I know you and the 91s podcast are a great great place to listen to all the UCF football stuff because you guys have former players on as hosts. I have former players on as guests every so often. We got 6 going on this year for the CGA Tour, 6 former players on as guests, but we don't have guys who are on as hosts, and those background conversations you guys are having as well too. It's real insightful and great to know. So,
and they're still
Roger.
They're still connected too. That's the other cool thing is they keep those group chats going. So there's stuff that I wouldn't say on a podcast that we know, right? Or that we wouldn't talk about, or players' families. Like there was the UCF Mom Squad and like all of that stuff. Like we're pretty ingrained with them, have been. They started in 2017 under Frost and have continued that, right? So there's stuff that you don't talk about and you don't air dirty laundry. But I'm telling you right now, I think it would be the wrong move for OSU. I think he would be a guy that would be there maybe 2 or 3 years, and then you'd get the boot and start all over again and owe him a buyout. That's what I think.
Yeah, there's a couple more coaches that I'm a little more worried about from what I can see on the surface level, but it's good to know some more background information about stuff.
There's a lot of other, like you guys started early, but there's a lot of other big name teams out there that are looking for coaches right now, so it's slim pickings.
That's the main concern is that is it slim pickings, and we're going to have to go with the favorite at the time or the favorite of the moment, not necessarily the guy who's been doing it. But I will say our athletic director, Chad Weiberg here at Oklahoma State, has done every hire he's had so far. He's done it right. He has done it. He has hired on women's basketball, men's basketball, and wrestling. Now, football's the next step. Football is the biggest, by far and away, and it is going to move the most amount of money, the most amount of donors. It's going to get all the coins out of front, all the couch cushions if they're there, or it's not. So a lot of pressure there, but you know what? We started early. We at least have that under our belt. At least we started early because who knows what happened if we had started here in December. And I'm joking and being sarcastic because I actually do think it would have been much worse. I think if we had waited to December-ish to make the turnaround, and all of a sudden we're not doing the search when Brian Kelly is out at LSU and James Franklin's out at Penn State, every other domino seems to start falling, Florida, etc., then I think we really would have a tough deal. But Roger, thanks so much for joining here on the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. If not already, follow the Knighted Ones podcast for all your UCF content. I'm going to join them for an episode here. We're actually recording it later today, so make sure to check them out. And then if you're not already, follow at the CGA Tour, wherever you get podcasts, everywhere in the world, it's there. Video platform, of course, on Spotify and YouTube. Roger, thanks so much again, and we'll catch you guys again soon.
All right, go Knights.
Go Pokes. Let's get this win. Come on, Cowboys.
Hey, Cowboy fans. Today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow oath, helping you protect what matters most.